again. Donald Trump's new tariff rate came into effect last night, but it came with a twist. On Friday night, the US Supreme Court struck down his tariffs. Within hours, Trump fired back. He signed an executive order and he declared 10% tariffs on all countries, 10%. Those tariffs have come into effect now.
Every time you buy a product, whether online or in a store, there's more happening than you see. A phone, a pair of shoes, even a simple household item doesn't just carry its sticker price. Buried in the cost is a silent, invisible tax, a tariff you never signed up for, a fee quietly added to fund a global conflict you never notice. In 2026, these hidden tariffs add up to $1.5 billion, flowing through every digital transaction and every imported product. Governments call it trade policy. Corporations call it cost management. You feel nothing, you just pay. On paper, trade wars are straightforward. Import duties rise, countries negotiate, industries are protected. Headlines simplify it, but the reality is far more insidious. Corporations do not absorb these tariffs willingly. Instead, they move the cost down the chain. Prices creep higher on phones, laptops, clothes, and even groceries. In digital commerce, the system is even more hidden. Streaming subscriptions, software licenses, and cloud services are classified as foreign imports, and fees are quietly coded into payment systems. You think you're paying for a service, but a small portion is siphoned off to cover invisible trade costs. By the time economists tally the numbers, billions have already changed hands. The consumer, unwitting and unaware, becomes the largest funder of a trade war. Walk through any supply chain, and the system's mechanics are undeniable. Corporations create layers of subsidiaries, shell companies, and cross-border operations specifically to manage tariffs. Costs are shifted, invoices adjusted, and profits routed through jurisdictions where they are least taxed. Governments collect revenue, banks and payment processors earn fees. Retailers maintain their margins. Everyone gains except the person at the checkout counter who pays without realizing. The impact is enormous and subtle. $1.5 billion doesn't just appear in a spreadsheet. It comes from millions of purchases, hundreds of product categories, and countless services worldwide. Prices are slightly higher, margins slightly thinner, but the system remains invisible, efficient, and perfectly engineered. Ordinary consumers are funding geopolitical strategies, often without any idea of how much they are actually contributing. This is the invisible trade war of 2026. What looks like a simple purchase is actually a small piece of a vast, silent financial machine. And this machine doesn't stop at prices. It shapes corporate strategy, global supply chains, and even the way governments design policies. But understanding the scale is just the beginning. To see how this burden is shifted and why ordinary buyers are quietly footing billions, we need to look deeper at the corporate and government strategies that make it all possible. The moment tariffs hit, the game begins. Corporations don't absorb these costs, they move them. Multi-layered supply chains, subsidiaries in tax-friendly countries, internal transfer pricing, all are tools to push the burden down the line. A smartphone assembled in one country with components from 5 others might pass tariffs through several hands before reaching a store. Each step inflates the price, but in ways that are invisible to the buyer. Governments play their part quietly too. They classify digital goods as foreign imports, bake tariffs into payment processors, and rely on reporting systems no one reads. Every subscription, every cloud service, every digital tool carries a fraction of this hidden cost. Consumers think they're paying for software, streaming, or storage, but part of their payment funds a $1.5 billion system of invisible trade fees. Retailers adjust their invoices and shipping charges, embedding the cost without drawing attention. A pair of shoes might cost the same at checkout as last year, but somewhere in the supply chain, the tariff has already been factored in, quietly inflating margins elsewhere. Banks and payment processors earn fees for moving money across borders, processing foreign transactions, and managing compliance with these complex trade rules. Every dollar of tariff revenue flows through multiple channels, benefiting everyone but the end buyer. Even small businesses feel the pressure. They lack the subsidiaries, accounting expertise, and legal teams of global corporations. Hidden tariffs erode their margins, force price adjustments, and limit competitiveness. The cost is passed on to consumers, but unevenly, creating subtle distortions across markets. Products from the same category may carry different hidden taxes depending on supply chains, origin, and vendor strategy. By the time the system balances itself, billions have shifted from consumers to governments, banks, and corporations without anyone ever noticing. It's precise, efficient, and invisible. And yet, the human impact is real. Consumers pay more for essentials, digital services become subtly pricier, and small businesses struggle to stay afloat. The tariff system is no longer just a policy. It is a mechanism for wealth transfer, perfectly disguised as market dynamics. The invisible trade war has many hands controlling the flow of money, but the end result is always the same. The consumer unknowingly funds a global conflict. And while this keeps corporations and governments insulated, it also lays the groundwork for disruption, because no system, no matter how hidden, can last forever. While consumers quietly pay, the real winners operate behind the scenes. Corporations maintain margins, banks profit from trade finance, and governments collect revenue, all without drawing attention. Every hidden tariff, every subtle price adjustment becomes a tool for extracting value from everyday purchases. The companies that once seemed vulnerable now use the system to their advantage, leveraging invisible costs to protect profits and investor confidence. Banks benefit in multiple ways. They finance cross-border transactions, process payments for international purchases, and manage compliance with complex trade regulations. Every surcharge, every digital transaction that carries a hidden tariff generates fees and strengthens their position. Hedge funds and investment firms exploit this system, analyzing which sectors bear the heaviest hidden tax burdens and positioning themselves to profit from market distortions. Even governments benefit without creating public outrage. By embedding tariffs into complex supply chains and digital platforms, they raise billions without changing overt tax structures. No new legislation is needed. The revenue flows in silently, and citizens rarely notice. In this way, trade wars are not only geopolitical tools, they are financial engines that transfer wealth efficiently from the many to the few. Small businesses, by contrast, often lose. Lacking the subsidiaries, accounting teams, and legal expertise of multinational corporations, they bear the full brunt of tariffs. Their costs rise, margins shrink, and their products may become less competitive. Meanwhile, large companies quietly adjust prices elsewhere, maintaining overall profitability while passing risk down to consumers. The human impact is clear, but the system shields the power players. Consumers pay slightly more for goods and services. Small businesses struggle to compete. Investors, banks, and governments collect fees and taxes without ever exposing the mechanism. The $1.5 billion hidden tariff system becomes a perfect example of how complexity and opacity concentrate wealth at the top, all under the guise of trade policy. But even the most efficient system has limits. The cracks are beginning to show. Rising consumer costs, slowing retail sales, and growing digital commerce distortions are starting to threaten the delicate balance. When these hidden taxes can no longer be passed smoothly down the line, the system risks disruption. Every time you check out online, swipe your card, or receive a bill, remember, you're part of a system that silently funds trade wars. The products you buy are not just items. They are instruments in a global financial mechanism designed to shift wealth from consumers to corporations and governments, often without your knowledge. The lights at checkout seem ordinary, but the cost hidden within is extraordinary. The trade war isn't just a headline. It's in your wallet, in your purchases, and in the everyday choices you make. Next time you buy a product, ask yourself, who is really paying for this trade war? If this opened your eyes, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks tariffs are abstract headlines. Because what you're really seeing is one of the largest hidden financial games quietly shaping the global economy today.